Hey bookworms, and welcome to Matthew's Library. Today we are going to be reorganising my bookcase. For no good reason really. When I moved into this flat, I just sort of threw all of my books on here, and there is some sort of, these are all aligned quite nicely. These are all autobiographies, but apart from that, there's not really much going on. And I wanted to sit down and sort of mix it up a little bit. On Instagram, I asked if people preferred their books nice and even or more uneven, a bit more jagged, and there was quite an even response. Even. So I wanted to sit down and have a think about it, and what I've thought I'm going to do is I'm going to go by author, by series, by release date. I think that's the plan. Now this is the only bookcase that I've got in this house. That's a lie. This is not the only bookcase I have in this house. This is the only bookcase that I've got books on at the moment. I have a bookcase in my office and it has lots of trinkets and stuff on. CDs, DVDs are on there. So that's more for other things, but I am going to put a couple of books that are on this bookcase on there as well, because they're more books you'd find in an office. That might make sense later on. I do plan on getting 2 more bookcases next year. Throughout the year I'm thinking, as my book collection expands, I want to get one for the living room or where the Christmas tree is at the moment. You can't see that, but I'm pointing at it. And one for the spare bedroom. There's nothing in the spare bedroom apart from a bed at the moment, which is the main purpose of the spare bedroom, but I would like to maybe get a bookcase and maybe some chest of drawers or something in there. I don't know, I'll have to think about it, but the plan is to expand in the new year. But for now I think there's a lot more I can be doing with this particular bookcase. It does have a few pictures and some trinkets on as well. I've got my nephew, my niece and nephew down here, a few trinkets where I keep my keys, but more so it's just a full collection of books that I've collected over the years. Most of them I've read. So I thought as I go through the whole process of restacking it, I could give a little bit of an explanation into what everything is. I'm excited and I'm a little bit nervous about this, because it could be one of those things that I'm like, this will take 5 minutes and then I'll be here in 2 hours time still putting everything together. So let's crack on with it. Oh, and for the record, I'm going to fast forward through the footage of me just taking everything off. You're not going to have to sit and watch that, so don't worry too much. It's not going to be like 2 hours for you, hopefully. Let's go. So that is all of the books off the shelf now, and I'm surrounded in a satellite of piles of books. Yeah, getting them back on is probably going to be the more annoying thing to do. Oh, I don't know how I want it to go. I regret this already. So let's start with books that will not be going back on the shelf. So this is everything that we don't want to put back on because it's going to go elsewhere. So I'm going to start with this one, which is starting and running a business for dummies. Learning skills about business is something over the last couple of years I've really felt that I need to do for multiple different things that I'd like to achieve in my future, in my job now, in future work that I imagine myself wanting to do but not necessarily having the skills to. But I find it all very intimidating, and I know that I'm not going to sit down and sort of read this book well, definitely not in one sitting, but not in sort of like one go. I'm very much a read one book at a time, so like I'll pick up a book, I'll read it, and then I'm done, and then I move on to the next one. I don't sort of have 3 or 4 different books going on all at once. So I'm not going to sit down and read this. I should have maybe studied business at some point. Maybe I could go back and study. Am I too old? You're never too old. You're never too old. But anyway, this is irrelevant really. This is a book that's going to be going into the study. I'm not sure if it's going to fit on the bookcase, but we'll find somewhere for it, maybe on the desk. So that's the first one. The next one is I have a selection of books, starting with this one, which is Surrounded by Idiots, which I have read, by Thomas Erickson. And it is a book that's all about sort of behaviour and human behaviour, and it's about, how that fits in with people in the workplace, but also within sort of your social lives as well. Really interesting read actually, but it is something that I was reading for a work course, so into the office it goes. I also have 2 more which I've not read yet, which I really should read, because they are part of the course I'm doing that I read Surrounded by Idiots for. They are Talk Like Ted and The Imposter Cure. Now Talk Like Ted I started. but I've removed the bookmark from because I must have wanted it for something different. And then The Imposter Cure I've not started to read yet, so I don't want to give any reviews on them. I really got into TED Talks. In fact, I really like TED Talks, so I wanted to read that. Thought, hello Minnie, you do not know what's going on. I've not introduced Minnie yet. She doesn't like it when I force her to do things I want. But I talk like TED. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I really got into TED Talks, and I really wanted to sort of learn a little bit in case I even, found myself in a position where I was doing one. Don't see that happening, but don't get comfortable there. You're not staying there, darling. So yeah, these are office books. They're going to go into the office as well, so they will not be staying on this bookshelf. Another book that I have that will not be staying on this bookshelf, even though it has already previously been on, is when I find it, Anthony in the Kitchen, which is a cookbook with Anthony from Queer Eye, and I've got a signed copy. I can't remember where signature is. Oh, there it is. Hey, my friends Chris and Paul got me this for my birthday on my 30th last year, and I've not yet used it because I mean, some of the stuff sounds really good. Some really cute pictures. I have a crush on Anthony, basically, is why I've been given this book. But there are some really good recipes in here, but sometimes I don't have the stuff that you need for it. Like not ingredients, like actual equipment. So that's a no-go to start with. But I'm going to move this into the kitchen, which is just there. It's not important. There's a shelf in the kitchen that's looking a bit bare, so I thought I could spruce it up with this. So, they are the books that are going somewhere else. There is another book, I'll get to it eventually, that I lent from a friend, and I've got a stack of books that they lent me over there so that I remember that they need to go back. Giving books back. Don't like it. But I've got a stack over there that I will be giving back because they're not mine, and I don't want to sort of get them confused, but I was holding it on my shelf. So, now we get into everything else. We're going to start alphabetically. Do I want to do that? I don't think I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, because this shelf has like a little bit here where there's sort of, if you're looking directly at it, you can't see. I'm going to fill it up with books that may just like sort of prop stuff up. I don't know where to begin with that though. Oh, well, I'll start with, hold that thought. So I'm going to start by putting this book on furniture hacks, which is something I really am interested in doing, but haven't really got around to investigating more. And it's just some suggestions for how to take sort of everyday objects and spruce them up, or take, things you might have around the house and, create something different with them, which is something, as I said, I'm really interested in, but I don't really have the time or space to do anything with it just yet. And so we're going to put that as one of our sort of hidden out of the way books, because it'll sort of bring everything else forward. And then, just because she's in front of me, I'm going to move on to Cecilia Ahern. I've got a couple of Cecilia Ahern's books. I'd probably say she's one of my favourite authors. I'm going to do a video on favourite authors sometime soon, so that's why I'm holding off saying my favourite. But I really did enjoy 100 Names, which was the first book by hers I've read, and Lyrebird. Lyrebird was fantastic as well. I highly recommend it. I picked this one up in a charity shop, and it was the gold binding that really attracted me to it. This book has been loved. You can tell when you just pick it up and feel it. But 100 Names, Lyrebird, and How to Fall in Love. I can't really remember what happened in this one, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, I can't really remember much about it, but I did enjoy it. I will hopefully get better at remembering books. Now, which one was released first? Let's check. 100 Names, How to Fall in Love. Oh, that's still sort of kind of out of the way though, isn't it? You can't see anything over here yet. You can, looking straight on, but we're from an angle. So what's next? Let's go for Catherine Gray, because I can see both of her books. So I'll be talking about this a little bit more over on Instagram in the new year, The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. And I gave up drink a few years ago, and this was sort of my Bible, really useful. And then this absolutely gorgeous book, The Unexpected Joy of the Ordinary, is just one stunning. When I get my other bookcase that's going to go in the corner, that's going to have stuff more on display, this will be going on, so this is just a temporary good position. But this book is really interesting as well. It's about just enjoying the simple things in life, you know, not having to have like fancy holidays to, you know, be happy. That's a very simplified version of what it is. But both these books are really interesting. They are more sort of not self-help, but they're non-fiction. This really tells Catherine's story about, you know, big changes in her life, and I found it really, really interesting when I was kind of going through those own changes in my life. You don't necessarily have to be given up alcohol as well, I think, to find this interesting, but it's definitely a good dry January book if you're looking for some motivation. So again, I'll talk about it more on Instagram, but they are going to go there. Oh, The Unexpected Joy of the Ordinary is just such a pretty book. The cover, stunning. I know one shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but it is a beautiful book. I'm just going to go in a bit random now and just mix it up. The Animals of Farthing Wood, my friend gave me this recently as a moving in present, and I absolutely loved it. I forgot how gruesome it can be. There's a series of books, so I might buy the others and just sort of have a read through them. That might be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that. But yes, Colin Down, I'm just going to go there. I'm not doing this in any order now. Little Bee by Chris Cleaver. This was another good book that I read as part of a book club. Work book club that's now gone. This one's really interesting because the cover doesn't sort of go all the way to the end, and I'm not sure why that choice was made. I don't know why that choice was made. That's the end of that thought process. Never Let Me Go was another one that I read as part of a book club. I think I was the only person who read this though in the book club. Nobody else picked it up. I don't know why, but you're going to go there. I've decided I'm going to go for the Zigzag. It's sort of broken a little bit here because of Cecilia's books being all of one height. What we're going to add next. So I've seen a couple of people talk about this on Instagram recently. It's The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This was a fantastic read. It's beautiful. It's tragic. It's not an easy read in terms of story and content, but it is so well written. I could not put it down. And I don't want to go into too much detail because it might worry it, but this is a fantastic read, and I definitely would be interested in reading more of Kristen Hanna's books. But give it a go. It's a hard read. The content is hard at times, but I think well worth it. What about Hit Cogsworth? So I'm going to just stick in the last book that I finished. That's a lie. I just this afternoon finished Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. That's not going on the shelf because it's a loan from a friend. But this is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Lots of talk about this at the moment. Highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. I was skeptic about it because I thought that it was going to be similar to another book that I read, but it wasn't. The other book I read I didn't enjoy. I'll be doing a full review of all of the books that I read in December at the end of the month, so you'll find out more about what I thought about that then. So we're at Cogsworth now, so we're going into the other side, which I think means only one thing. This side is going to be the Sue Townsend side. I'm going to do a video about Sue Townsend soon, but I actually fell in love with Sue Townsend as a child with the Adrian Mole series. I absolutely love the Adrian Mole books. Sorry, I'm just organising them all as I talk. I've got so many of them. Probably have too many. Everything I Never Told You is another book that's from my friend, so it's going it's going somewhere else. I need to come back to you. Your Sue Townsend, your Sue Townsend, Sue Townsend, Sue Townsend. Oh, actually, if we're doing by author, then this needs to go in somewhere as well. I've lost a Sue Townsend book. Maybe I've not. Oh, wait, is it in here somewhere? Yes, it is. The other book that I was just talking about is Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, which I read sort of last Christmas time. Very personal book, well worth a read. This one's non-fiction, unlike The Midnight Library, but I'm just going to have to sort of squeeze that in here. Now, I've realised that I've just said that I want to put all of the books in sort of order. Oh, I found another one for mine. This is a mess, isn't it? Like, this is just making no sense to anyone. Just moving books from left to right. The book that I was looking for from this pile is here. We'll get to that in a moment. Fierce Conversations is another book that I'm supposed to be reading as part of a course that I'm doing. I've not got around to starting it yet. I will have to at some point. I'm just really enjoying fiction at the moment that I don't want to read non-fiction that's study work. That sucks. I might have to try and find a way to split my evening into fiction and a non-fiction book every evening for a couple of hours. Maybe. That doesn't sound like fun though, does it? But you are one for the study. Okay, so what I've now got, if I can lift this up and show you all, something feels like it's missing. Something is missing. Let me just have a quick look at everything that's left. There it is. There it is. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. This is the Sue Townsend pile. Now, I would have said up until recently that Sue Townsend is my favourite author. As I said, I'll be doing a video about favourite authors soon. And there's a couple of books in here that I'm not really a massive fan of. They're really heavy. Not a massive fan of anymore. But the Adrian Mole series is my favourite series of all time. I love these books. I've got a lot of nostalgic love around them. And now I need to try and organise them into date order. So, bear with, I'll speed through this moment. So what's interesting here is I'm going to try and keep all the Adrian Mole books together, but I've got The Secret Diaries of Adrian Mole here. I don't know if this must be the version that I read, but it's in it's sort of incorporating The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, age 13 and 3/4, which was the first one, and The Growing Pains of Adrian Mole. We then have The True Confessions of Adrian Albert Mole. This is really tiny. I must have got through this pretty quick. And then this is sort of a combination of a few different versions that was released in 1991. So I'm just sort of going to kind of put them all together like that. And then I'm going to try and remember which versions came next. So I think it would have been the Cappuccino years. So they're the Adrian Mole books I've got. Why do I feel like I am missing one? I'm not too sure. Let's start that section also. That is our Adrian Mole section. Our Sue Townsend section begins. And then we've got 3 more. And these are the books that I didn't enjoy so much. Hate is a strong word. I didn't hate any of them. But I was very, very frustrated with them. So let me just see when they were first published. Okay, so The Queen and I was 1992. Number 10, 2002? That's the only date that's in there. That might be a reprint though, I don't know. The Woman Who Went to Bed for a Year is more recent. First published in 2012, yep. So this is the most recent one. I think maybe her last one before she passed away. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But yeah, that's The Queen and I, number 10, and The Woman Who Went to Bed for a Year by Sue Townsend. They're just going to slot in there. And then I need something to just sort of fill in here. And I think I'm going to use a combination of a few different little tricks to fill that in. I'm going to start by choosing an autobiography, or maybe what I'm going to do, because then all the autobiographies can go together on the next shelf, which is where they were to begin with. Why I've taken them off when I'm just going to put them straight back there is beyond me. It's Not Okay to Feel Blue and Other Lies, curated by Scarlett Curtis. There's a lot of different contributions in here from many very inspiring people. It's all about mental health, so if you wanted to read up a little bit about mental health, this is a really interesting book. It's a combination of prose, poems, you know, people's own accounts of their issues with mental health, lyrics. It's just lots of variety, really, really interesting. I highly recommend. So I'm just going to slide that in there. I'm going to fill in this little gap over in the corner with a few other things, starting with the story of the Lace Market Theatre. The Lace Market Theatre is a theatre in Nottingham. This is sort of its complete history, and it is a theatre I'm a member of, a theatre I enjoy being a part of. I performed there, I do a little bit of voluntary work there on the bar and front of house. Go check it out. It's fantastic performances, a wide variety of different players. Obviously 2012's not been a great year for us, but we will come back strong in 2021, I'm sure of it. So I'm just going to slide that in there, and I'm going to slide it and then I'm going to slide next to it Peter James's The Perfect Murder, which was written for stage by Sean McKenna. This is the first play that I ever did at the Lace Market Theatre, so this is just a tiny little script, but it's not a tiny little script, it's a script, so I'm just going to slide that in there as well, and then that sort of pads out that top shelf. Let me just turn around a sec. Wasn't cute, but there we go, that's in there now. Okay, next up, shelf number 2. As I mentioned, I'm going to throw in just the autobiographies here, which is as they were. So autobiographies I have are Alan Carr, I've read that one. Dawn French, Do You Fatty? I've read that one. This one's halfway through being read, actually. This is a really dirty copy. It's probably because it's been moved so much. I must have lent this to somebody. I'm pretty sure I finished this. Maybe I didn't. It smells funny. It's going on the shelf. Where we at? So I've also got Miranda Hart, which was really good. Is It Just Me? I have, this is another one I'm not sure if I've read. That's Another Story by Julie Walters, which I should maybe give a read of, because I don't think I have read it yet. So maybe I'll pop that on my list. Another one I've not read is Alfie Boe, which is just called My Story. Alfie Boe's a West End performer, if you don't know. But I was given this by my mum for Christmas a few years back, I think. And I've just, I've never really sat down and read it. So I should do that at some point. I've got a bunch of, this is another, this is another one that I started and then didn't complete. This is Stephen Fry's autobiography, and anybody who knows Stephen Fry will obviously know he's got a very, very big lexicon, shall we say, and I didn't really understand some of the words in this because of the way that he writes, but I think I just sort of maybe read it when I was a bit younger, and if I read it now I'd be on board with it. And again, you can see how I didn't get very far, but I will maybe give it a try. Sorry, I'm just pulling my box. People do that. We do that. We love our books, we smell them. They do not have new book smell. Do I have any other autobiographies before I introduce the three that I've got here? No, I don't. So the next two are my favourite. They are Home and Homework, and they are the first two chapters of Julie Andrews, or first two books of Julie Andrews' autobiography. I love Julie Andrews, and I really enjoyed these books. I'll be honest, autobiographies aren't my go-to. I am more of a fiction reader, but these are absolutely wonderful, really well written. I think they're both, or at least the Homework is written with her daughter Emma Hamilton as well, but they're really well written. It's really interesting to sort of go behind the scenes of Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music, two like of my favourite movies growing up. Yeah, like we stand Julie Andrews in this house. She's who I want to be. She's everything. I adore her. And if you do enjoy autobiographies and you're a fan of Julie's, then get this book. Let's stack them on there. And then finally, to fill off the autobiography section, I think I've got Kristen Chenoweth's A Little Bit Wicked, and Lauren Graham's Talking as Fast as I Can, which specifically focuses on sort of her time with the Gilmore Girls. And I sort of binge watched Gilmore Girls last year and really, really loved it. So when it finished, I read through this. And I wish there was more Gilmore Girls because I absolutely adored it. I think Lauren Graham's fantastic. Really good read. They are just going to go there. Now at the end of this row, we've got my nephew Benji here. I'm going to leave him as he is. And I'm just going to sort of fill up to there. Calm down, Lauren. There's no need for that. So the next book that I'm going to put on the shelf is a book that I highly recommend. It is The Puppet Boy of Warsaw. It is a book I read earlier this year and I absolutely adored it. I could not put it down. I was given this as a Christmas gift, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's set around sort of the Nazi Germany invasion of Poland in Warsaw. It goes into detail about the Warsaw Uprising. There are characters or people in this book who are based on real people. They tell their stories sort of intertwined with the main story of the book, which is, I believe, a fictional character. There's an element, I believe, some may disagree, I think there's an element of having to... Lauren! There's an element of having to sort of put your belief to one side for an element of this book, a tiny little element, but I don't feel it makes... I don't feel like it's out of place. So yeah, recommend so much. I think it's one of the best things I've ever read. So we're going to pop you there. That's The Puppet Boy of Warsaw by, I'm going to say Eva Weaver, because in my accent, if it's Eva Weaver, sounds like Iga Beaver, and that's a whole thing. So moving on, we've then got Oh Dear Sylvia by Dawn French and The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I'm just realising that I don't have my copy of The Casual Vacancy, which, I mean, I guess after everything that's gone on isn't the end of the world, but still, it's nice to know where all of your books have gone. Oh, I've got another autobiography over here. Well, I mean, yes, let's pop them in there and we can slide this one in. This is Ellen DeGeneres, is my point, and I do have one. I read this because at the time, you know, Ellen was, you know, well, I mean, she's... How do we talk about Ellen? Obviously there's been a lot of controversy around her show, and her involvement in that is still not entirely clear. This book is also written before she came out as a lesbian, so sort of reading through it, it feels a little bit like, oh, I mean, this is... But it's a quick read. I don't remember if I enjoyed it or not. Yeah, I mean, I found it funny, but it is sort of a little bit like reading the story of somebody who's, you know, maybe got amnesia and then living a completely different life. Yeah, interesting one for, you know, historical context. Let's just slide that in there. Next up, it's all sort of random. We have what... They're all very upset with me. We have War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I did not enjoy this book. I know it's a classic, I know it's well known. I bought it because I really love Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, and I thought that this would be fun to sort of read and be able to be like, oh, I know it now. Not that I didn't know the story, it's not exactly a hidden treasure. I just didn't enjoy Wells's style of writing, if I'm honest. There were some really funny bits in it, and I don't know if they were meant like intentionally funny, but it's just sort of like what we'd call these days really shady. But it was just like at one point, I think it was talking about the Martians coming down to Earth, and then it just sort of said, sorry, it makes me giggle. It sort of said, children and unemployed men gathered around, and it just was so shady. Didn't necessarily enjoy, but it is a classic. I'm glad that I did read it. I just wish that I got maybe a little bit more out of it, I suppose. Also, my zagzag's kind of gone out the window. The next few things that I'm going to add on are, how do we describe them? Just a bit mixed match, really. So the first thing I'm going to put on is this copy of The Scriptive Company from the West End production a few years ago. Company is, at this moment in time, my favourite musical, and this production was phenomenal, in my opinion. And this was sort of a copy of the script that got released, and like I bought it, and then the release date got put back, and then put back, and put back. But I'm really glad that I have it. I've not actually sat down and read it. I just have it in case I ever need it. It's really pretty. I really like it. The next few things are all theatre stuff. So that is Company. Oh, stop it. Do you know what? I put The Perfect Murder up here because it fills that slot, but it's not okay to feel blue and other lies is sturdy enough. So in this next section, I'm going to group together The Perfect Murder, a play I did at the Lace Market Theatre, Equus, another play that I was involved in at the Lace Market Theatre, Design for Living, which is another play I was involved in last year with at the Lace Market Theatre, and then A Streetcar Named Desire, which is a play that I auditioned for and didn't get into. Boo. But I did decide to read the entire play before auditioning, because I kind of realised now that, you know, when I audition for stuff, they may throw something different at you, and it's good to, this is acting 101, they may throw other stuff at you and you may need to know a little bit about that, so I felt it's best to sort of read up. So yeah, there are 4 plays that I've got for doing, or through my involvement with the Lace Market Theatre. So I do have, look, there's lots of variety here. We're going to get into even more variety later on. Guys, like, comment. So that sort of fills that shop. Ah, no, wait, hold that thought. I've been buying books recently. Yay. So I bought the Midnight Library recently, and when I did, I also got The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and Homestretch by Graham Norton. So I'm really excited to read them. And then the other day I also bought Where the Crawdads Sing, The Foundling, and then I've got 2 Christmas themed books, Finding Love on the Christmas Market, or at the Christmas Market, and The 12 Days of Christmas. So I'm going to try and read these before Christmas, but they can all go on the shelf until then, and I don't know where I'm going to put them. Where do I put you guys? Where do you fit? I guess if I just take the theatre stuff, and then if I just pop that in there. Oh, see? Fits perfectly. Oh, but then Benji's sort of... Yeah, we'll put Benji like that. What to do with you now? Oh, I've messed it all up. Oh dear. Well, that brings us really to the final shelf, and I think that's not going to change just because of how things fit. But these are just all really random books. So this is a book about the movie Burlesque that I have, that I got as part of a sort of a deal where you got a copy of the poster, you got a copy of the CD. The poster's unfortunately really badly damaged now. But yeah, no, I loved it. I also got this as a gift for my birthday last year. It's sort of all you need to know about RuPaul's Drag Race up to a certain season. I think All Stars 3. But yeah, this is really cool. It's got lots of information about different drag queens that have been on the show, and little images as well. So that's going to go on there. We've got a copy of Wreck This Journal, which was a fun book that I never really fully wrecked. But I did put, look, Paul Spills. So you can't really see that on the camera, I don't think. So yeah, that's fun. And then this random little book about cats that I found. It's not Cats the Musical. I have a book on Cats the Musical. We'll probably get to that in a moment. But these are just all going to sort of fill in at the side here. Oh, yeah, so if we... I don't want to put RuPaul out the way. I've also got books on Dan and Phil, because I'm a little bit in love with Dan Howell, and Phil's really funny, but like, oh god, Dan Howell is my dream man. But I got their books as well, so I'm going to slot them in here, and then we'll have Drag Race, then Burlesque, then Rector's Journal and Cats, and then the final bit, that's a notebook that can go somewhere else, is all of these books that we have here, and they are just a selection of sort of combination of things. Coffee table books about theatres, dreams, and there's one called Kilted Yoga, which I got as a Secret Santa from work a few years back. If the lighting's different and I'm in a completely different position, it's because my camera died, so we're having to start that last little bit all over again. But I think what I was telling you all is that these are all about these are all just sort of a combination of coffee table books and yoga books that I just started doing, but I've had this book for a while. It was a sort of comical gift. But I've also got some what are they called? Music books. So I've got Avenue Q, Les Miserables, and Wicked, and they are all the sort of music books for that. I don't play piano, but I've got the music for it. But they're just going to sort of slot in here, I think, where they sort of were to begin with. To be honest with you, they've not moved much. And I think actually we're just going to slide it along, and we're just going to squeeze the players in there as well. There we go. Everything sort of squeezes in nice and neatly. These are books that I don't really read very much or come back to very often, but I think it's always nice to have coffee tables, and I don't have a coffee table that can really have them displayed at the moment, but if I do have one in the future, then that'd be nice. We've got a picture of my niece and nephew, Olivia and Jackson there, and then a little Chip. We've got Chip down here, who, as I mentioned earlier, stores my keys. You can go back there. My theory of doing authors and series kind of didn't really work, did it? Maybe it did. The only author I've not got next to each other is Dawn French, and that's because one's an autobiography and one's a novel. And this has kind of gone along the straight, but then we've got Graham Norton sort of throwing it out. So it's an aesthetic, but here we are. Everything's sorted, everything's got a place. I don't have any books sort of lying around on countertops anymore, which was sort of happening. Everything's been put away. I put the books I mentioned in the kitchen and the study in there. They don't quite fit on the bookshelf, so we put them vertically. But I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. I think I'm going to read you next. Finding Love at the Christmas Market, to get into the festive mood. So yeah, this is the end product. This is what we've got, and I'm looking forward to getting more books and another bookcase in the new year. Let me know how you arrange your bookcase. Do you do alphabetical? Do you do via author? Do you do colour coordination? Everyone has their own way, everyone has different aesthetics they like, and I'd be really curious to hear how you do it. So don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.